given the 5-year forecast, is that within your realm of confidence?
The governor has proposed borrowing $380 million in the bond market in order to pay out overdue tax refunds to the people of Guam. Senators are concerned about GovGuam's ability to make payments on the loan, known as debt service payments. The proposed bond would create an additional $57 million a year in debt service payments. The governor is hoping that Reventax will complete its tax mapping program soon. This program should give GovGuam a more accurate picture of how much property on Guam is worth, which should result in more revenue from property taxes. But how much revenue?
Well, $2 million is the anticipated increase. That's just anticipated a year. But there's a difference between taxes and aggregate assessed value.
The aggregate assessed value that Camacho was referring to is basically the total value of all property on Guam. The total value of all property on Guam determines the island's debt ceiling or credit limit. The administration is hoping that Guam's total property value will increase, which will result in an increased debt ceiling, which will allow GovGuam to borrow more money. But just as with a bank loan, sometimes the most important factor is your ability to make loan payments. In order to pay the $57 million a year in additional debt service payments, GovGuam will have to make more money. However, Department of Labor economist Gary Hiles can't say for sure how much more money GovGuam can expect in the coming years because of the uncertainty of the buildup.
Of course, projections can be made, but the certainty that we can rely on those fundings materializing is more speculative.
So before we were shooting in the dark, now we're going to be shooting in the darker?
Because of this uncertainty, lawmakers are wary of borrowing so much money on the bond market.
If I were the borrower and I were to come into you and I want you to close my loan within the next month, and you tell me, well, I'm talking to Gary and I'm trying to figure out what the thing is, what the growth is, or I'm trying to figure out we're going to put this software in, we're going to do this within the next month. It hasn't happened over the last 7. The bank's supposed to believe me? Well, you know, sir, I'm looking for a job and I really think I'm going to be able to earn $1 million. Well, you haven't had a job in the last year and you're going to have $1 million in the next month? Would you give me a loan? Those of you that have been in the financial industry, you know you would. You'd throw me out from the 3rd floor of the building.
Lawmakers were pressing members of the governor's fiscal team for information so that they can make a decision on whether or not to pass the bond borrowing measure. The budget, which includes this bond borrowing measure, must be passed by August 30th.
In the last month, and you guys have been pushing this for 5 months, and we have no hard figures on which I can make an informed decision. My heart says I want to pay the tax refunds, all right? But how am I supposed to vote for it if I don't have hard figures to know that I'm going to be able to pay it off and then next year have enough money so that we can keep the operation going and then not fall behind so that 2 years down the line we're going to have another 2 years of tax refunds that aren't going to be able to be paid?